The beginning of every transformation is always hidden from the eyes of the world. It does not begin with the applause of men, nor with the recognition of society, nor with the validation of friends or family. It begins in a place so quiet and so intimate that only you can enter. That place is the inner chamber of your imagination. Every great achievement, every profound change, every victory that has ever been experienced by any individual was first planted as an invisible seed within. The truth is simple. If you want to win, you must first hold the vision of winning in yourself before any evidence shows itself outside. The seed of destiny is not out there in the world. It is not waiting for you in some future event. It is already within you, waiting for recognition. Every desire you hold is not random, nor is it some accident of thought. The desire itself is the proof of its possibility. The moment a desire is conceived in your mind, the potential for its fulfillment exists within you as surely as the oak exists within the acorn. When you see yourself with a longing to be, to do, or to have something, that desire is the whisper of your deeper self showing you what is already prepared for you. But like any seed, it must be nurtured. And how do you nurture this invisible seed? Not with action first, not with the struggle to manipulate conditions, but by assuming within that the seed has already taken root, and that it must grow into the fullness of expression. Think of a farmer. He never plants a seed and then runs each morning to dig it up, desperate to check whether it has grown. He trusts the unseen process beneath the soil. In the same way, you must plant the seed of your assumption and trust the invisible process of imagination. The outer world may look unchanged at first. The soil may seem still, yet beneath, life is already at work. The power of imagination is the soil in which every seed grows, and persistence in that inner assumption is the water that ensures its harvest. This is why all change begins with you. If you wait for circumstances to change before you dare to believe, you will remain at the mercy of shadows. The only way to master life is to take the authority within, and declare yourself already in possession of what you desire. The moment you say within, I am this, I have this, I live this, you have sown the seed. You must now guard it against the weeds of doubt and the storms of appearances. No man can sow that seed for you. No system outside can plant it. It is your responsibility, and it is your privilege. But here is the deeper mystery. This seed is not something foreign to you. It is not borrowed, nor is it something you must steal from another. It is the very life of God within you. To imagine a new self is to awaken the creative spirit that lives in you. Every image you hold, every state you occupy, is the divine seed taking root. If you honor it, if you water it with faith, it must manifest as surely as the seasons follow one another. You cannot plant corn and reap wheat, nor can you plant fear and reap victory. Guard carefully the seed you choose to plant within, for it will become the harvest of your life. And this brings us to the great secret that many ignore. While it is true that the seed of transformation is within you, its growth is multiplied when it is protected by silence. There is a power in silence that the noisy world cannot understand. To rush and tell others of your vision, to seek validation from them, is often to expose the tender seed to winds that uproot it before it takes hold. People cannot always see what you see. They cannot always believe what you believe. If you allow their doubt, their ridicule, or even their casual indifference to reach you, it can weaken your own faith in the unseen process. Silence is not weakness. Silence is mastery. When you choose to hold your vision quietly within, you create a sacred chamber where it can grow undisturbed. The ancient builders always had a cornerstone, hidden yet essential, without which no structure could stand. In the same way, your silent inner conviction is the cornerstone of every outward manifestation. You may be tempted to speak, to share, to explain, but often this urge is nothing more than the mind seeking approval. Approval from others is never the foundation of creation. Conviction within is the only true foundation. When you keep your assumption secret, you protect it from the world that demands proof before belief. But imagination does not operate on proof. Imagination operates on faith, and faith does not ask, will it be, but rather declares, it already is. Silence allows you to remain faithful without interference. It prevents you from being swayed by the questions and doubts of those who cannot yet perceive what you have conceived. Think of the woman carrying a child in her womb. She does not announce the life within her at the first moment of conception. She protects it in silence, allowing it time to grow in secret until it is undeniable. In the same way, your desire, once assumed, must be carried in the womb of imagination. It must grow quietly, nourished by your inner conversations and protected by your faith. until the day arrives when the outer world cannot deny it. Many people lose their vision because they do not understand the power of silence. They are like children who dig up a seed again and again, desperate to show others what they planted. Each time they expose it, they weaken its ability to grow. If you would master life, learn to master the discipline of keeping your inner world sacred. The more you keep silent, the more power your vision gathers. The more you hold it as a treasure within, the more inevitable its manifestation becomes. This silence is not passive. It is an active state of guarding. It is choosing to turn away from appearances and to remain inwardly faithful. It is choosing to repeat to yourself in secret what you know to be true of you, even when the outer world says otherwise. Silence allows you to commune directly with your imagination without interruption. It creates an atmosphere where your assumption becomes natural to you, and when it feels natural, when it feels like the most obvious thing in the world, manifestation is certain. So learn the art of planting the seed within and guarding it with silence. When you assume the state of your desire, you have already begun to create. But when you protect that state in silence, you have ensured that nothing can uproot it. The world outside may chatter, circumstances may seem stubborn, but none of these matter. You are not called to convince them. You are called only to remain faithful within yourself. And as surely as night follows day, what you have planted in imagination will rise to meet you in the outer world. To persist in the assumption is to stand unshaken when the senses scream the opposite. It is to know that the invisible is more real than the visible, that what is imagined with feeling is already a fact in the unseen, waiting for its appointed hour to break forth. Many people begin with enthusiasm. They catch a glimpse of the truth. They hear that imagination creates reality, and they start with eagerness to assume their wish fulfilled. Yet when the outer world does not immediately conform, when conditions seem unmoved, they abandon the state, declaring it ineffective. This is the great error. The seed does not reveal its harvest in a day. The soil requires time, and so does the transformation of your life. Persistence is not merely repeating affirmations or forcing yourself to think a thought. Persistence is dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, until it becomes the natural atmosphere of your mind. It is walking through your daily life with an inner knowing that the unseen is already real. The outer world may appear unchanged, but persistence refuses to measure reality by appearances. Reality is measured by assumption. When you persist in assuming you already are what you desire to be, the outer world is compelled to yield. Consider a sculptor who begins with a block of stone. He sees the finished figure within, though the world around him sees only the rough exterior. Day after day he chisels away, persistent, undistracted by the stone's resistance. He does not abandon the work because the figure does not emerge instantly. He holds the vision in his imagination until the stone conforms to it. Likewise, you must hold the vision of yourself as already victorious, already successful, already living the life you desire, until the stone of circumstance yields. To give up because the outer world is slow to change is to abandon the masterpiece before it is revealed. Persistence means you do not vacillate between states. One moment you say, I am, and the next moment you say, I am not. Such double-mindedness produces nothing. If you plant a seed and then tear it up, you cannot expect a harvest. The law responds to persistence, not to fleeting whims. The inner world must become fixed, steady, consistent. When you persist, you impress the subconscious mind with your assumption, and once impressed, the subconscious must bring it to pass. The outer world has no choice but to conform. Yet persistence is often tested. Appearances rise against you. Circumstances seem to contradict your inner state. Friends may question you. Doubt whispers that nothing is happening. This is the very moment persistence proves its power. To persist is to say, though the outer denies, I remain faithful to the inner. Though the senses mock, I will not abandon what I know to be true. It is in the face of contradiction that persistence becomes strength. Every contradiction is a challenge asking, will you remain loyal to the unseen, or will you bow to appearances? The one who persists cannot be defeated, for reality must eventually reflect the state he refuses to leave. This persistence is not hard labor. It is not striving. It is not a constant fight. It is a quiet confidence, resting in the truth of the assumption. It is saying within yourself, this is who I am, and letting the world catch up. Just as a seed does not struggle to grow but naturally unfolds in time, so your assumption, when persisted in, will naturally express itself. The effort is not in forcing the outer, but in remaining steady inwardly. But persistence cannot survive without focus, and this leads us to the next key. To refuse to be distracted is essential. The world is full of voices. Each voice offers its opinion, its fears, its doubts. Every day you are surrounded by appearances that contradict your assumption. If you permit yourself to be distracted by these, you scatter your energy, and the inner state loses its strength. The mind that wins is the mind that learns to close the door to distraction and keep its gaze fixed on the vision. Distraction is subtle. It does not always come as open opposition. Often it arrives as harmless conversation, as idle thought, as worry dressed as responsibility. A friend asks how things are going, and before you know it, you are rehearsing the very problems you are trying to leave behind. This is distraction. The senses show you a lack of money, and you allow yourself to dwell on it, forgetting the assumption of abundance. This too is distraction. To refuse distraction is to discipline the mind, to remind yourself constantly of who you are in imagination, not who the world says you are by appearances. Think of an archer drawing his bow. His entire focus is on the target. He does not glance to the left or right. He does not allow chatter to break his concentration. His eyes are fixed, his mind steady. That is the attitude you must take toward your vision. Every distraction is a movement of the eye away from the target. Each time you give in to distraction, you weaken the force of your assumption. But when you refuse to be distracted, you build momentum. The vision becomes stronger, more real, more dominant, until it commands your entire being. Refusing distraction does not mean avoiding life or isolating yourself. It means carrying your vision so fully that no outer event can shake it from you. You may move through your day, work, speak, interact, but within, you remain anchored. You learn to listen with one ear to the world, but with both eyes fixed on your inner reality. When challenges arise, you acknowledge them, but you do not give them the authority to define you. You return at once to your assumption. There is a doorway through which distraction enters, and that doorway is attention. Whatever you attend to grows. If you attend to fear, fear grows. If you attend to lack, lack multiplies. If you attend to the vision of yourself already victorious, that state becomes dominant. To master attention is to master life. Refuse to allow your attention to wander into states of defeat. Guard it as you would guard a treasure. Choose deliberately where your attention rests, for wherever it rests, there you will live. This refusal of distraction demands courage. The world often moves in the opposite direction of your vision. It tells you to be realistic, to lower your expectations, to accept what is given. If you yield to such voices, you surrender your power. To hold your focus in the midst of contradiction is to walk by a higher law. It is to know that imagination rules reality, and that appearances are but shadows of past assumptions. You cannot allow shadows to dictate your future. When you master persistence and focus, you become unstoppable. The outer world no longer sways you. You no longer chase after conditions, begging them to change. You stand still within, rooted in your assumption, and you let the world rearrange itself around you. This is the true meaning of victory. It is not the frantic attempt to fix the outer. It is the quiet mastery of the inner, until the outer bows to it. To persist in assumption and to refuse distraction are not separate practices but one. They are the two sides of the same coin. To persist is to continue dwelling in the state, and to refuse distraction is to guard that dwelling against intrusion. Together they create an unshakable inner fortress. Within that fortress, your vision matures, your assumption solidifies, and the harvest becomes inevitable. To live from the end is to step into the reality of your desire as though it were already yours, and to remain there regardless of what your senses report. Most people live in a world of hoping, waiting, and striving. They look at conditions and allow those conditions to dictate how they feel, how they think, and how they act. But the law of life does not respond to what you hope might happen one day. It responds to the state you occupy now. When you live from the end, you bypass waiting. You no longer ask when will it happen. You declare within yourself that it has already happened, and you move through life carrying that feeling as your inner atmosphere. This is the great secret of assumption. It is not enough to wish for a new state. You must embody it. You must feel it so vividly that it becomes natural to you. To live from the end is not about daydreaming of a future that may arrive. It is about identifying yourself with that future so completely that it becomes your present. When you walk in the awareness of being the person you desire to be, you collapse the sense of time. The distance between you and your desire vanishes, and life begins to rearrange itself to reflect the inner state. Imagine for a moment that you have already achieved what you long for. How would you carry yourself? What thoughts would you think? What emotions would you feel when you wake in the morning? How would you respond to challenges? To live from the end is to answer these questions not with speculation, but with embodiment. It is to adopt the posture, the mood, the inner tone of the fulfilled desire now. When this becomes your natural dwelling place, manifestation is not a question of if but when. Many people misunderstand this and believe they must act in the outer world in ways that pretend the desire is fulfilled. But living from the end is not about pretending. It is not about putting on a performance for others. It is about your inner world. You may continue your normal routines outwardly, yet inwardly you remain rooted in the state of fulfillment. Outward action without inner conviction is hollow, but inward conviction inevitably shapes outer action in ways that align with the desired outcome. When you live from the end, you neutralize doubt. Doubt can only survive when you believe the desire is separate from you, something to be reached in the future. But when you occupy the state of fulfillment, doubt has no ground. You cannot doubt what you already are. A wealthy man does not doubt his wealth when he pays a bill. A loved individual does not doubt his worth when he receives affection. Likewise, when you feel the reality of your desire now, you no longer struggle to convince yourself of its possibility. It becomes your truth. This way of living transforms every interaction. You no longer approach situations from a position of lack, trying to get something. You approach from fullness, expressing what you already are. Opportunities that once seemed hidden begin to appear, because your inner world is no longer one of searching but of possessing. People respond differently because they sense a new atmosphere in you. Life bends to the assumption you carry, and circumstances fall into place without the strain of forcing them. But there is another dimension to this truth, one that deepens the practice and gives it unshakable power. Your inner conversations are the very substance from which your world is woven. What you say within yourself, in the secrecy of your mind, is the script the outer world must perform. This is why it is said that life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Every inner dialogue, every whispered statement of self, is a seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. Most people are careless with their inner speech. They rehearse problems, argue with others in imagination, repeat stories of defeat, and then wonder why their lives produce the same bitter fruit. They do not realize that the inner conversation is not private. The universe hears it because the universe is you. The subconscious mind accepts these quiet whispers as instructions and sets the stage accordingly. To change your life, you must change the dialogue within. If you desire victory, you must speak as one who has already won. If you desire wealth, you must converse within as one who already possesses abundance. If you long for love, you must talk to yourself as one who is already cherished and adored. These inner conversations are not empty fantasies. They are creative acts. Each word spoken in the imagination carries the vibration of reality. When persisted in, they solidify into the very experiences you encounter. You may notice how often your inner speech contradicts your desires. You affirm outwardly that you want success, yet inwardly you rehearse failure. You long for recognition, yet inwardly you imagine rejection. This divided mind produces a divided world. To master life, you must align inner conversation with your chosen end. You must decide to speak to yourself only as the one you choose to be, and to refuse any dialogue that affirms the opposite. This requires vigilance, but it is a joyful vigilance. You begin to notice the tone of your inner speech, and when it wanders into fear or complaint, you gently but firmly redirect it. You replace the old story with the new. Over time, this becomes natural. Your inner world becomes saturated with affirmations of victory, of fulfillment, of joy, and when the inner is full, the outer must reflect it. Living from the end and mastering inner conversations are inseparable. To live from the end is to carry yourself as already fulfilled, and the way you carry yourself is revealed in the way you speak inwardly. When the two are aligned, when your inner dialogue matches your assumed state, the law of life has no option but to express it outwardly. It is as certain as the law of gravity. The beauty of this truth is that you are never powerless. No circumstance can silence your inner speech. No condition can prevent you from assuming the end within. Even in the darkest hour, you can retreat into imagination and speak to yourself as the one who has triumphed. That quiet conversation is the beginning of transformation. That secret assumption is the seed of a new reality. And when you persist, it grows, it expands, it hardens into fact, until the world cannot deny what you once held only within.